So here we are, part 3. This is probably one of my absolute favorite sections or topics of cybersecurity, and that is social architects or social engineering. How do we manipulate people, right? That's really what it comes down to. And we can do it through written communication, we can do it through interaction, etc. So first and foremost, let's get a formal definition going of social engineering. So social engineering is using tactics to infiltrate systems via email, phone, text, or social media, often impersonating a person or agency in authority or offering a gift. So just some ideas of how we could do that, okay? So historical evolution, just as we talked about with OSINT, right? OSINT started well before computers, so did social engineering. So pre-computer era, deceitful methods used by conmen and scammers to manipulate people, right? So, you've probably seen this in the movie, where they befriend somebody and then take their money. That's one way of doing it, right? Early references, the term social engineering appeared in 1894 with a different meaning, advocating addressing human challenges in industrial contexts, right? So in manufacturing. In 1970s, phone phreaking, an early computer hacking, exemplified by John Draper. So Captain Crunch using the whistle from a Captain Crunch. So the toy from a Captain Crunch cereal made the tone needed to manipulate phone systems. Bring it all the way up to the 1980s. Yes, folks, that was part of the computer era in the 1980s. I think it was in 1983 that the IBM PC first came out. So hackers use social engineering to gain unauthorized access to systems. A notable case is the Marcus Heck hack. So Marcus Heck was a West German hacker. He infiltrated numerous U.S. military and research systems during the 1980s. So basically, Hess primarily used social engineering techniques to gain access to those networks. So one notable method was phreaking, while involved manipulating telephone systems to make free long-distance phone calls, enabling him to access networks remotely. And by the way, there is a great book entitled The Cuckoo's Egg, Tracking a Spy Through the Maze of Computer Espionage. It is a fun read. It's on Audible. I highly suggest it. It simulates the Marcus Heck attack, but in this case, it's Clifford Stoll, and it chronicles his efforts to track down a hacker who broke into his computer network at the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory in 1986. It is a great read. So that takes us up to the 1990s, rise of the internet, the increased use of social engineering techniques, with high-profile hacking cases bringing attention to SE. And we're actually going to look at that, one of the most famous cases, and what is said to be the world's most wanted hacker, Kevin Mitnick, in just a minute. So we'll take a deep dive into Kevin, if you will. In the 2000s, phishing attacks became widespread, using deceptive emails to trick recipients into revealing sensitive information. These started right with the sheik who had millions of dollars and, was willing to give you part of it for just doing something just to get you to click. And can you believe people actually believed it? They clicked on those things. But those social engineers got better and better. We started spear phishing, which we'll learn about, and creating targeted attacks that were even better. So when we talk about social engineering attacks, so to get us started, let's just look at 4 common attacks. We're going to go into these in more detail, but pretexting, right? Fabricated scenarios to gain trust. This can be something, that I write down that I'm going to say, key points I'm going to say, maybe something I say to a target, right? If I bump into them in a bar, or, of course, in text as well, right? Writing that text, making it sound convincing. So baiting, offering enticements for personal information. It's not just that. I mean, there is this idea of a candy drop, right? Which is a form of baiting where I use a USB, I drop it in a parking lot with the assumption that somebody's going to take it. And what are they going to do that they shouldn't do? Take it into the office and plug it in. And as soon as they plug it in, right, malicious code runs. Boom, I've got them. So quid pro quo, favors in exchange for compromising security. We're actually seeing a lot more of this, right, where, internal, end users become internal threats. They become mad at the company. They post online that they're mad at their company, whatever. Somebody, gets a hold of them and says, hey, if you just plug in this thumb drive in there to your computer before you quit, I'll give you a few $1,000. It's like, what do I care, right? Tailgating is different. Now, tailgating, I just wanted to introduce you that there are physical security breaches as well, and tailgating is one of these. This might be someone who wants to get into an apartment building. They see an elderly woman carrying groceries. She's walking up to the door. Hey, let me help you with your groceries. She opens the door. You carry the groceries in, and you have access to the building. Recently, more commonly and recently, advanced persistent threats have become a huge thing. So these, a lot of times, these are very complex, long-term attacks, right? Or multiple attacks, on the same organization. These are, the organized crime, the organized hacking groups, etc. This is what they do. Bring us forward, 2010, the use of AI and machine learning to perpetuate and defend against SE, it was there before ChatGPT, all right? But since ChatGPT and the focus on AI, everybody's now implementing AI. Well, AI was also used to create those better scripts for phishing, okay? Now, commonly today, one of the really spooky sort of social engineering techniques is a deep fake. So this is an example of one. What I'd encourage you to do is watch this video. I don't want to play it so I don't get a copyright violation here. But, just Google Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland and Back to the Future. So they defake the movie, with different characters. And, of course, this being an election year, it's 2024 when I'm making this video. How might deepfake play into the presidential election in the United States? So, COVID was a great opportunity for social engineering attacks, exploiting on people's fears and confusion. We'll talk more about the psychological, because that's a huge part of social engineering, is the psychological, influence that we are influencing in a human being. So enough about the deep fake. Let's move on. So I promised you we'd take a look at a famous hacker, and this is my favorite famous hacker. One of my favorites, I should say, and that's Kevin Mitnick. So let's just look at Kevin here. Kevin started hacking at the age of 16 years old. A lot of his hacking was simply curiosity. Could I do this? Could I get in? Right? It was a constant challenge. So he accessed a computer network using a phone number provided by a friend. So no OSINT here, except getting the phone number, right? Which he was given. So first major attack was on Digital Equipment Corporation's computer network. He copied their software, leading to an arrest and conviction in 1988, sentenced to 12 months. Near the end of his supervised release, Mitnick hacks into Pac Bell voicemail computers, right? Probably not something you want to do while you're on parole, right? Or, monitor release parole. So fast forward a little bit. He gets arrested in 1995 and in 1999 pleads to multiple counts, receiving 46-month prison sentence plus 22 months for violating supervised release, right? I thought this computer was kind of funny. It's Mitnick with this sign. It's actually him standing in front of a Department of Justice. It's probably some conference or something. So just kind of a funny picture. His wanted poster here. So he was a wanted man. And then, of course, as we'll find out, he sort of turns things around and uses his skill for good, goes to the other side of cyber, if you will. So Mitnick served 5 years in prison, 8 months in solitary confinement. I thought this was hilarious. Here's a bunch of people that do not understand computing because they put him in solitary due to exaggerated fears that he could cause major damage just by whistling into a phone. Okay, so pretty insane. So he gets out, he starts his own consulting company, Mitnick Security Consulting, and co-owns KnowBe4. So, great site there. Here are 4 books I just want to mention to you. These are 4 of my key reads as it pertains to social engineering. The first one, and most important, is Social Engineering, The Science of Human Hacking by Christopher Hadnagy. Sorry, Christopher. I thought Magidson was a tough name. I just can't say that. So if Chris ever watches this video, my apologies. Art of Deception is a Kevin Mitnick book. That's a pretty good book, actually on, controlling the human element of security. So social engineering, right? Practical Science and Engineering, so Primer for Ethical Hacker, great book. Okay, ethical hackers do a bunch of social engineering. That's a lot of how they get in. It's not all about just sitting at a computer, hacking away at a firewall, checking ports, hoping to get in, right? A lot of times it starts with the human element, finding that way in. So that USB plugged in, physical access, so I can, throw my Raspberry Pi with Kali on there, remote into it, whatever the case may be. A fun read and an Amazon editor's choice is Ghost in the Wire. It is another Kevin Mitnick book. It's sort of about his adventures as the most wanted hacker, if you will. So pretty interesting stuff. So that's it for this part. I'll see you in part 4. We're going to take a deep dive. We're going to look at psychological. We're going to look at social engineering attacks and how they're done. See you then.